How's it going, everyone, and welcome to the video. I'm here in my new sort of office setup making videos for Baldcafe, but it started about 2 years ago way out in China. So about 2.5 years ago, this happened. And this is me reacting for the very first time after just finding out that my hair was falling out.
I feel sad. I don't know what to think. I don't want to change. I feel good the way I am now.
I was following in my dad's footsteps and my hair was going to be falling out. You see, I thought I'd gotten away with it. I was 25, my dad's hair had fallen out in his early 20s, but I was 25 and I used to check my hairline. Is it okay? Is it okay? And it was solid. Little did I know that it crept up on the back of me here. It crept up from behind and my hair started going at the crown. And the next 6 months after filming this video were really tough. I used to think about it all the time. I used to constantly be playing with the top of my head. I couldn't look people in the eye. At the time I was studying and I would deliberately be late to class so that I had to sit at the back so that no one could sit behind me, because I was always so afraid that people were going to see the back of my head and also discover that I was going bald and I was losing my hair. I felt bad about it for a while and I didn't know where I could get any advice. Naturally, I went online and I was really lucky. Some of the first videos I stumbled across were guys like me now talking about their experience with losing their hair, and they had both embraced it. They'd taken on this shaved head look, they'd shaved it off, they'd gotten on with it, and they were pushing this advice to other guys, saying, listen, the best way to get through this hair loss stuff is to accept it, embrace it, shave it off for a nice clean look, and just move past it once and for all. And that's exactly what I did. About 6 months, 7 months later, I was tired of constantly worrying about it, constantly obsessing over it. And I did the same. I shaved it off and I never looked back. Now at the time I was making videos for YouTube on a different YouTube channel, and I was reviewing an app where you could Photoshop yourself. As a man, you take a picture, maybe you're not happy with your hair, your beard, your physique, and you could actually Photoshop all these different areas that you wanted. And I just found this app ridiculous.
This is just complete bollocks.
And it really got me thinking. I thought, why do these things even exist? Why are we pushing this kind of thing where you feel like you need to change yourself? And it really compelled me to talk about my own story of losing my hair. And that's exactly what I did. I put a video out on YouTube going through my whole story of how I discovered my hair was falling out, how it made me feel, and I offered my advice. I shared what worked for me with shaving it off, focusing on the things I could control, the things I was good at, and how all those things combined really helped me move past hair loss, balding completely, and I came out the other side an even better person than I was before I found out my hair was falling out. The feedback on YouTube was instant. So many guys were reaching out, thanking me for sharing my own story. This stuff was so relatable, and it was apparent that there just weren't enough people out there talking about this experience that so many guys go through. And Baldcafe was born. I started making videos on tutorials of how to shave your head, different product reviews, and eventually it moved way past my own story. I started a podcast, and this is where things really started to take off. We had the Baldcafe podcast where guys would come on, share their own experience, how they felt losing their hair. They were sharing their biggest fears, different ways their behaviors were changing, and then sharing the things that helped them build up the confidence to just shave it off, embrace it, and move past it once and for all. Again, the audience grew. It grew to a really positive community. Now, when I started Baldcafe, I made a promise to myself that I would respond to everyone. Everyone that jumped in my DMs or shot me an email, I would take the time to give them some advice. And I think that dedication to taking time out to speak to everyone individually and offer that sort of individual advice is a big factor in what's helped Baldcafe grow into the positive place that it is now. It really opened my eyes to see just how many men were struggling with this, but also how this content that I was putting out and the guys who were sharing their stories on the channel, all of this content combined was really helping a lot of people. And the DMs, the messages just exploded, and more men were opening up about the struggles that they have had or are having with dealing with something like male pattern baldness and losing their hair. Guys had the same worries. How's my head shape gonna look? Guys saying they were constantly worrying that someone was gonna find out that they were trying to cover up this hair loss. Guys wearing hats day in, day out, using all these different types of products, all these different remedies and routines. Guys literally waking up 4 hours before work so that they could fix their hair perfectly, put a ton of hairspray in it, just because they were so fearful of people recognizing that they were going bald. A big reason that all this fear, anxiety is built up for so many men around the subject of hair loss is, again, because there weren't enough people coming out talking about it openly and honestly. And that's exactly what we do at Baldcafe. Baldcafe took another really massive leap about 6 months ago when we had what I call our first live episode. We had a guy called Adam get in touch, and this video has more than 250,000 views now. We had a Skype call where he came on and he shared his story in the moment, saying how he was feeling with his hair day in, day out, saying he was just tired of worrying about, you know, the bald patch at the back, are people gonna notice? All of those fears that were coming up again and again. We took it a step further and he actually filmed the moment that he took that razor and he buzzed his head for the first time. And then we got back on Skype about 2 weeks later where he just described how taking this action, building up the confidence to be able to take that big leap of faith, if you like, to just shave it off and decide there and then that he was gonna move on from this worry, anxiety with male pattern baldness once and for all. And he's never looked back. We're still in touch today. And that was a big turning point for Baldcafe. After seeing that videos, the messages, everything just ramped up. More guys getting in touch, wanting to do the same. And we've almost had 10 guys on the channel now go through it, where we have that conversation, they describe how they're feeling, they shave it off, and we come back after and they just explain how all of this stuff on the channel, sharing that experience, talking about it, has helped them so much. So much so that they've just moved on from hair loss once and for all. The general advice that Baldcafe puts out there is different to how a lot of the hair loss world, if you like, kind of views hair loss and pushes it on men. All these cures that are advertised, they're really just putting a plaster over a much bigger problem. Dealing with hair loss becomes such a mental battle because you're always worried about other people's opinions. How is life going to pan out for you if you do go bald and you do have a shaved head? A lot of the companies that push these products, like the hair fibers, the powders, the different drugs, the surgeries that are out there to help men hold on to that hair, they really target guys at their lowest point, and they offer this sort of unbelievable, too good to be true solution. You know, take this pill and get your hair back. Instant hair, you know, with all these hair fibers, and it just doesn't work like that.
It affects half of all men. Call Clive Hair Clinics to consult with a specialist for just $35. You've got too much to lose if you don't.
Guys, you've got too much to lose if you don't. The reason why I think Baldcafe and the community and all the guys involved with it have been so successful in dealing with hair loss and really putting a full stop after it once you've shaved that head, I think a large part of that is because all we really do is talk openly and honestly about how it feels, right? How it really takes you to that low point, to your lowest. And you have to almost be open to that vulnerability before you can move completely past it. I say to guys, you know, if you're watching this video and you are at that really low point with it, where it is a real worry for you, you feel anxious about it, it makes you depressed, you just feel like a completely different person, a shell of how you felt before you knew you were going bald. And for some guys, they feel silly themselves, you know, why am I worrying so much about something like hair? But it's a real issue for a lot of men. And you can't take that for granted. But I say to those guys, recognize that when you're at that lowest point, when you feel low, that is actually the starting point to come back up. You have to go to that point and then be open enough to, one, talk about it and really accept that it actually is a really big issue for you. You're gonna have to be open with yourself about how crap it makes you feel, how low it makes you feel. And once you've done that, you start to gain this sort of clarity around it. And that's actually the first point when you realize that you actually do have control of it. And there are genuinely things that you can do to move past it. You have to focus on the things that you're good at. There's a lot of things in life that you have no control over, you know, your genetics, things like that. You have no control over that stuff. But the type of person you are, the goals you set for yourself, you know, the things you set out to achieve and achieve them, all of those things are in your control. And Once you start focusing on those things, something like hair loss actually starts to seem much less of an issue. And then I say to the guys, look, you shave it off and you're removing that sort of physical thing that's creating all that anxiety, depression. It works so well because it's just so damn simple. You're not adding a load of things into the equation. You're stripping things back, stripping it all back. And a lot of these guys have been worrying about it and having all these crazy routines for so long. Now suddenly, once they've shaved it off, it's done. You know the outcome, there's no uncertainty. Everything's suddenly so much clearer. There's something just really open, really honest about it. And it's so peaceful. And so that's what we do here at Baldcafe. We put that advice out there in a sort of digestible way for all different types of people. It's a really positive community, and we just remind guys that when you're there and you're thinking that everyone's sort of looking at you, everyone's aware that your hair's falling out, actually no one cares. No one's worried about it, because the reality is everyone out there has their own insecurities, right? They have their own things that they're worried about. And it sounds kind of cliche, but once you really own it, this thing with male pattern baldness and being bald, once you own it and you're honest about it, and if someone asks you, oh, why the shaved head? And you say, yeah, my hair was falling out, I felt really crap about it, so I just got on with it. I shaved it off and I moved on. You find there's such a respect that comes with that. You're not hiding anything, you're open and honest about it. And a lot of people think, you know what, I wish I could be that confident about something that society as a whole sees as something to be embarrassed about. But it's really not. It's natural, it's normal, it happens to so many people. And at the end of the day, no one's really judging people on their hairstyles or how much or how little hair they have. It's really about who you are and how you tackle these types of adversities that come your way. And I personally, I learned a lot through this journey of losing my hair and putting this advice out there and speaking to so many guys out there about this problem of hair loss. And you know, Baldcafe continues to grow and I continue to dedicate myself to it. It's got a lot of people talking about baldness and male pattern baldness and more anxieties and more issues in general with men and men's mental health. And I'm glad to see now, you know, there's more people talking about these issues out there. So I want to thank you guys for watching this video, taking the time to see what Baldcafe is about. I hope it helped. I hope you found it interesting. Thank you again for watching. And guys, maybe I'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.